How would we really live on Mars? Mars once had rivers. Real rivers. They flowed for millions of years. They carved valleys that still exist today. Earth had rivers too. Only one planet stayed alive. That difference wasn't luck. It was protection. And if humans try to live on Mars as if it were just a colder Earth, the planet will remind us very quickly why it failed the first time. For decades, the image of Mars settlement was simple. Put a dome on the surface, fill it with air, and live under the sky. Sunlight would pour in, crops would grow, humans would walk around without bulky suits. It felt logical. After all, we already know how to build pressurized structures. We do it in space stations. We do it in submarines. A dome just scales that idea up and places it on the ground. This vision became the default. Movies reinforced it. Concept art repeated it. Even early studies leaned into it because it was easy to visualize. Mars looked empty, quiet, and frozen in time. A planet waiting to be unlocked. But that assumption was built on a misunderstanding. Mars isn't passive. It doesn't just sit there unchanged. It is actively hostile. The first problem is the atmosphere. Mars technically has one, but it's barely there. The pressure at the surface is so low that unprotected humans wouldn't simply suffocate. Liquid water would boil away instantly. Even sealed systems have to fight a constant pressure difference, pushing outward all the time. Then there's radiation. Earth is protected by a strong magnetic field and a thick atmosphere. Mars has neither. High-energy particles from space reach the surface almost unfiltered. Over time, that radiation damages cells, increases cancer risk, and degrades materials. This isn't ancient history. NASA's MAVEN spacecraft has measured Mars losing atmosphere right now. The solar wind strips particles away, and the planet has no global magnetic field to stop it. Mars is still bleeding air into space. That means any attempt to make the surface safe has to constantly fight the planet itself. Now imagine a large dome. Inside, Earth-like pressure pushes outward. Outside, near vacuum pulls nothing back. Every square meter of that structure is under stress, all the time. Add temperature swings that can exceed 100 degrees Celsius. Add micrometeorite impacts that have no atmosphere to burn them up. Add radiation slowly weakening materials. On Earth, a crack in a building is a repair problem. On Mars, it's a life-threatening failure. The larger the dome, the more catastrophic that failure becomes. Repairs are harder. Redundancy becomes complex. Risk scales faster than usefulness. This is where the old idea starts to collapse. Domes aren't impossible. They're just a bad place to put your entire population. Once engineers stopped asking how to recreate Earth on Mars and started asking how to survive Mars as it is, everything shifted. The answer wasn't above ground. It was below it. Mars' soil, called regolith, turns out to be an asset. Just a few meters of it blocks most radiation. It smooths out extreme temperature swings. It protects against micrometeorites. It adds structural stability without requiring massive engineered shells. When you bury a habitat, the planet becomes part of your defense system. That's why nearly every modern Mars habitat study converges on the same design. The core of the settlement goes underground. Life support systems, sleeping quarters, medical areas, workspaces, all of it placed where stability matters most. This isn't about hiding, it's about control. Underground, pressure is easier to manage. Temperature is predictable. Radiation exposure drops dramatically. Systems last longer. Failure becomes slower and more survivable. But humans aren't machines. Total isolation from sunlight and open space causes its own problems. That's where domes return, but in a different role. Instead of being homes, domes become destinations. Small, reinforced surface structures connect to the underground through pressurized tunnels. They host greenhouses, research spaces, communal areas, and controlled exposure to natural light. They're modular and isolated. So if one fails, the rest of the settlement keeps running. Psychologically, this matters. Humans need variation. They need light. They need a sense of space, but they don't need it all the time. The settlement becomes a hybrid system. Underground for survival, surface access for health, research, and morale. Not a city under glass. A network built for reality. This reframes what it means to live on Mars. It won't feel like standing on a new Earth. It will feel like living inside a carefully engineered machine. Mars settlements won't terraform the planet. They won't spread outward in open neighborhoods. They won't be self-sustaining worlds. They will be sealed, monitored, and deeply integrated with their environment. And that changes expectations. It changes timelines. It changes costs. It changes who goes and why. Mars stops being a destination for expansion and becomes a testbed for survival beyond Earth. If humans can live there long-term, on a planet that actively strips away air, offers no magnetic shield, and punishes exposure, then living anywhere else in the solar system becomes more realistic. Mars isn't waiting for us, but if we accept what it is, instead of what we want it to be, it can be lived on. That changes how we think about colonization, and it changes how we think about what it really takes to leave Earth behind.